Hi there. This is a bit of an impromptu video because I've had quite a few questions about this. Well, I only did a few of them in the past, I don't know, 36 hours, maybe 24 hours even, where I made some gel plate prints using this drawing. So basically, well, that's a sketch I did of an area called round here, well, 25-30 miles away, called the Stiperstones. That is literally traced from over the top of it. That's a bit like copy paper, and the reason I use that is so I can, that's actually a biro, a green biro, and that's what you're seeing there is the lines from it. I press in pretty hard, and that's why I use the copy paper, is because it's thin, it pushes through. Hopefully I can, as you can see, I've taken a couple of plates from that already. But so that's the original that it's from. And then these are the prints I mean, they're mostly from a different view of the Stiperstones, but that's from that part there. So it's that one, that's one of the bigger ones, and then that's an A3 print of the so hopefully you're getting all of that. And I've had quite a few people asking me how I've done it, so as a form of a token of appreciation, because my figures on social media and specifically on YouTube have like jumped enormously in well, enormous figures for YouTube or social media, but they've jumped a lot in the last week and a half, and yeah, this is some form of me saying thank you for that, much appreciated. So I'm going to switch to the bigger plate, which is that beastie, and then I'm going to ink up the plate to make sure you're not getting a load of shine from that light. Do that a bit more. How's that? That's a bit better, isn't it? Right, so this is Payne's Grey, very cheap, student quality paint. Don't need a lot, quite thin with this, even over quite a big area. That'll be plenty. Even as you can across it. Now, because I've already taken some prints from the line drawing that I'll use as the basis for this, which I'm just about to do now, so I've got to be quick about this, so I'm going to concentrate for a moment. So, there we go, that establishes the line drawing. Now, I'm going to shine, I don't know what that's doing, how well you can, not very helpful, is it? So I think that's probably better. Can you see it? I think you can just about make it out. If I lift it, if I put a piece of paper behind it, hopefully you can see it a little bit better. With me a moment, I'm just making a mess of my studio. This was very impromptu. I just had a lot of comments when I woke up this morning, so I thought easier to film a video. So let's see what happens when I zoom in on that. You see the line drawing? So yeah, I'll I'll give that a moment to dry off, because it's Payne's grey, virtually black. It'll dry off quite quickly. But it's, again, this is I mean, I mentioned this in the demonstration where I did this virtually the same approach but for portraits, and this comes from Yeats Makes on YouTube, so do look him up. He's really good for this kind of stuff, just finding all sorts of little keyholes through doors of techniques. I think he's worked as a printer, but I need to speak to him on an individual level. But he knows so much about printing and ways to adapt. Really impressive to watch. So yeah, I saw him come up with this using the biro. It doesn't have to be a biro, but a biro seems to work best. Or a biro or a ballpoint. You should get a bit of pressure onto it. And they're ostensibly waterproof-ish inks. Okay, so the next bit, I'm just going to give that a blast with a hairdryer, so I'm going to turn the microphone off while I do that. Okay, sorry about that. Right, so the next bit, I use this colour, and this is where I start using the paint brushes. This is Winsor & Newton, and it's a colour called Pale Umber. And really, when I'm doing this bit, very cheap brushes. I think I got a set of 4 or 5 of them for about 3 or 4 quid. So they're not high quality. I mean, a lot of my brushes aren't massively high quality equipment. And then within some reason, I play about with what I've got in terms of a line drawing. But it's not a strict process by any means. Add a bit of water, it breaks the mark making up, and get a bit happy with it. Use quite big marks, because what you'll find is as this dries, it will fragment anyway, so you'll get that rocky, broken broken line basically. I'm quite fond of it. But yeah, don't go mad with any of the put a bit on at a time and then leave it. I've sort of got this down to, I think, about 5 or 6 different tones and colours. It's relatively simple when you do it with the landscape. So, right, I'm going to give that a minute again to dry off. Have a swig of my coffee. Yeah, so I don't know how much you'll see from the other side. You can have a look. I can see that's coming along quite nicely, but it's quite vague, so you might not be able to see it, but rest assured it's going all right so far. Now obviously when the paint's a bit wetter and I've added a bit more water to it, then it takes a bit more to dry. So unfortunately it's hairdryer time again, so I'll hit mute for you. sorry about that. There's going to be a bit of that, but it does really speed the process up a lot, so it's quite necessary. Okay, so I've got quite a specific order that I work these colours through and tones through. So this is system 3 and this is warm grey, and it pretty much does what it says on the tin, so it's a warm grey. Much the same again. Get a bit on, that bit about, there's no specific, use a bit of license. Yeah, what I was saying, the reason that I, not just to mention go and have a look and give Yeats Makes a follow on YouTube, but also what he says quite frequently, I've noticed in his videos with a lot of his techniques, I don't think all of them, but an awful lot of them, and I'm going to echo this myself, is it's necessary to, they've got to be dry. The layer underneath has got to be dry. That's why you get so much hair drying with, and you begin to understand why when you do it, because I don't think a lot of it comes at the details, even in high def, get a bit lost. But even in this poor lighting that I've got now, which I wouldn't ordinarily have it like this, but even I can see how that's breaking up as it dries out the water content in it. And that's why over here, not so much, because that's quite thick paint. But I'm going to leave that, because I know what's coming next, and hopefully it'll pay off. So I'll have a look on the other side, see how that's holding now. Oh, and just, I don't know, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Lucinda who was asking me about how I get my big gel plate to stick to the perspex. I literally put it onto the perspex and leave it. That's exactly what that is. It's just, as you can see, it's not over within the boundary of where it's sat, but it's pretty filthy. It's expensive stuff now, so I won't be replacing it for a while, and I certainly won't be cleaning it now it's got to this stage. It's enough for me to see through what I'm doing, so, you know, and they all end up getting dirty anyway, and you move them about a lot, or I certainly do. Right, I'm just going to dry this again. Apologies about all this here, but it does speed it up, and it'll definitely make a difference for you. So I'm going to put the sound off again so it doesn't deafen you. Okay, back again. Let's have a look how we're doing for time. Right, so this might get split into two parts, this, because the camera I'm filming it on splits things into half-hour sections. Hopefully I can get it done in, I doubt whether I'll get the print done, but you'll get the idea from this part without a doubt. Okay, so that's that established. So they're quite light tones, and again, I don't think you're going to be able to see it very well, but it is bringing out the drawing. So, what I'm going to do now is, this is a very middling tone, and this is Raw Sienna Opaque, and it's Galleria. Again, same thing again, just keep on, you just adding layer after layer. Somebody was saying to me that they've only got 3 or 4. I see nearly, I mean, I'm bringing this over from my painting disciplines, but I see every paint stroke as a layer. Maybe I'm being pedantic about that, it's quite entirely plausible. Right, again, add a little bit. This is quite thick paint, this one, so I'm going to add a little bit of a bit more water with this. It's going to need a bit of drying out, is what that means. And it's quite warm down here, so try to bear that in mind. And just bust your marks up, because they will change. I mean, the more water that you have, and I'm not saying use a lot of water, I'm not saying that, but the more water you have, the more it will change on the gel plate, because obviously the gel plate resists water. So, but I don't want to, yeah, you want to work towards, when you get, I'll show you what I'm going to do now. I mean, basically I'm going to use all of these. The next one will probably be this colour that I put on after I've dried that, I forget what it was now, it was raw sienna, wasn't it? Then I've got a pale olive here from System 3, that'll go on next, especially down at the bottom, but a little bit, see, I sort of give some sort of nod to foliage and things in the landscape, but there's not a lot with this. It is a very rocky landscape. In fact, what I will probably do before I do that is use System 3 again, but this is just standard olive green. I have got Galleria olive green as well. They're very similar, slightly darker, so I might end up using that one. But what I try to do is I try to do what I consider to be a lighter tone and a bit of a darker tone, and a bit of a lighter tone and a bit, and I keep on playing the variables. You'll notice that about me, I play polarities a lot against each other when I'm constructing an image. Right, I'm going to give it another blast with a hairdryer. We're nearly done with the hairdryer activity. I do apologise about it, but I will keep switching it off while I'm using it, so bear with me. Thanks a lot. Okay, back again with sound. So, I don't know how much of that you can see, but it's coming together quite nicely now, even with not a lot of light on it. Right, I think I'm going to go for the Galleria one. Make sure you clean your brushes after each, you know, I mean, I'm taking that you know, that's pretty schoolboy stuff, that is. That's pretty obvious. And that's another, I sort of work from the lighter tones to the darker tones, purely so I can not keep on changing the water, especially when I'm filming a video and an ad hoc one at that. I've got no water to change at the moment and I don't want to disappear off from the camera. Right, okay, so again, little bit of water in there. Just break a few lines up with that. There we go. green can really dominate the yellows if you're not careful, if you use your, and you don't have, obviously you don't have to use these colours. The really handy bit is getting the drawing transferred across, and the only tricky bit with that is press as hard as you can with the biro, because obviously the deeper the indentation, the more chance that the mark will carry across when you do the transfer. And be quick. You'll be amazed how quick you'll have to. I mean, for me, I'm used to using leaving pieces of paper and things to transfer marks for a few minutes onto the gel plate. You don't get that with this at all. Literally lay it down, lightly rub your hand across the surface of it, take it away fast as you can. It does work with other colours. Obviously the darker the colour that you use, that's why I'm using Payne's Grey, the more obvious it is. And when I'm doing things on camera, yeah, a lot of it astounds me, even in today's high def world, it astounds me how much it actually misses. But yeah, we'll I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see a little bit, maybe. You see that? It's a bit blurry, isn't it?